Hi, this is Mentality Meets. So today we have Naomi Light, who is a leadership and life coach. I have no idea where this session is going to take us, so we should probably crack on and get started. This is Mentality Meets. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Mentality Meets. So my name is Peter Larkum, and today we are going to be talking with a lovely lady called Naomi Light. Naomi, just say a quick hello so as we know who you are.
Hello everybody, happy Thursday afternoon. So good to be here with you.
Brilliant, that'll do, great. So if you are new to Mentality Meets or if you've been here before, let's just go through a couple of guidelines. Firstly, we don't know who you are, okay? We don't know what your personal journey around mental health is, whether you've experienced mental health illnesses in the past, whether you're experiencing mental health illnesses at the moment. So can I just ask, please look after yourselves. Okay, there are a couple of places where you can get help and support. In a moment, I'm going to introduce you to your chat bar, but you can chat to everybody in the call, or you can send a specific chat to me. So if you do find what we're talking about is a little bit unsettling, or that you have realized that you need some help and support, you can send me a chat directly to say, Pete, help. And I'll do whatever I can in the context to help you. But what I'd like to encourage is that if this hits a nerve and you get a little bit more vulnerable than you're expecting, can I encourage you to call the Samaritans on 116 123, totally free, totally anonymous. Or you've also got the new text service called Shout, where you can text 85258. And you just text Shout to 85258 and somebody will get back in contact with you almost straight away to get help and support. If you work in a company, you have an employee assistance program, and I'd love to encourage you to go and find them, because there's a lot of help and support through your employer's assistance program as well. If you don't have access to an employee assistance program, welcome to the IAPT, which is the Improved Access to Psychological Therapy. It's an easy acronym to remember. Otherwise, you need to Google IAPT and your local area, because it's the NHS provision to access counselling and therapy. So there's lots of help and support out there. Now, on these Mentality Meets, we are also banging on about another website, which is called the Hub of Hope. So if you do www.hubofhope.co.uk, what you can do on that website is you can put your postcode in, and it will show you all the mental health support and provision that's available in your local area. Now, this is brilliant if you're supporting people on the other side of the country, because you can put their postcode in, and it will show you all the mental health support in their local area. Okay, so www.hubofhope.co.uk. Alrighty, so that's the guidelines and that's the help and support that's available to you out there. So I have a question for you. Question number one for your chat bar. So what I'd like you to do at the bottom of your Zoom box, so you've got a little chat bar, stick on your chat bar, what's your name? Question number two, have you ever heard of a trikini? And question number three, Naomi, what is question number three for our audience today?
So I want to know, what behaviour have you become more painfully aware of in lockdown? So personal behaviour, for me, it's that I comfort eat. And because I'm more stressed in lockdown and the kids are off, I have been consuming dairy milk at an alarming rate. So that's mine. I answered the question as well, but just to give you an example, what behaviour of yours have you become painfully aware of in lockdown?
Man, that's a deep question for like the first introduction to our audience. So what's your name? Have you heard of a trikini? I'm getting lots of no's in the chats. Have you heard of a trikini? And what is the behaviour you have become painfully aware of? This is the stuff that you're obviously not too happy about. So we've got the eating lots of chocolates and got short naps in the afternoon and other things like that. So this is going to go off on the chat bar. What's your name? Have you heard of a trikini? What behaviour are you becoming painfully aware of in lockdown? And Naomi, while we're getting all these chats through, can you just introduce us to who you are, what you're up to, and basically what your journey has been to bring you to today and joining us on Mentality Meets?
Yeah, I'd love to, Pete. So my name's Naomi Light. I am a leadership and life coach. And I got into this work through my own experience with mental health. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. I experienced what I variously call burnout or breakdown, somewhere in there. which was off the back of a number of other crises that we'd had in our family that were all around a marriage that was very difficult at the time, some financial difficulties that we got into, relational difficulties, and my husband's own journey with PTSD, which he got a diagnosis for in the middle of all this. So this is literally all at the same time, and it all came to a head where one day, out of the blue, I just stopped functioning. So I didn't have any positive feelings. I couldn't get off the floor. I cried all day. And I just stopped being me, and I didn't know how to get back. And it was a very scary, dark time. And even though my background was in human resources, and I knew quite a bit about self-help, it was still a very difficult, the hardest thing I've faced in my life. And so I started writing. That was the beginning, really. I began to post on Instagram and blog about what I was experiencing, and how I was using my thoughts to overcome the real negative feelings I was having. And the more I thought about that and the more I read about that, I realized that there's a lot of power in understanding your thought life and in leveraging your mind to heal your body effectively and to pass through the difficult emotions that can so often be part of life. And so that kind of led to some qualifications and some coaching clients. And at the moment, I'm just finishing a book, which actually details various points of my journey with what I hope will be inspiring, enlightening takeaways that can be applied to many people's lives, because we all think.
Brilliant. Wow. Okay. So welcome to the session today. Let's have a look back and see what people have been saying. So Naomi liked, Sally says no, Trudy says no, Naomi says no. This is all to do with what a trikini is. Philip says no, but procrastinating is definitely one of those behaviours that he's become painfully aware of. Eating dairy milk is yours, Naomi. Losing time is Sally's. Melissa says, Melissa here, not heard of a trikini. Time getting up and going to bed is no longer set in stone. Isn't it just? Oh my gosh, the reality of kind of going to bed. I realized I don't want to go to bed anymore, because it's the only kind of time that we have where I can kind of be in control of my own time and do what I want. And Netflix, The Last Dance. If you've not come across it, can I encourage you, go watch it. It is phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. Just for any other Netflix, actually give me some other Netflix ideas. Come on, throw them out, give me the chats. Any other Netflix ideas? Pete Larkum says trikini, it's a bikini with a matching face mask. Kaboom, I'm down with the kids. Can you tell? Or is that just embarrassing that I even said that? The thing that I'm painfully aware of is more wine, chocolate, crisps, and basically stuff. Melissa, I totally agree. It is an oh dear moment, isn't it? It's a little bit concerning. Josh says that rewatching TV shows on Netflix is always worthwhile. And Naomi has just admitted that she needs a trikini. I think we should probably move this conversation on and away from the trikini context, shouldn't we? Sorry to anyone who is new to Mentality Meets. It doesn't go this way normally. So, Naomi, thank you so much for your introduction, because there was a lot of honesty and just general gnarliness going on in the conversation around relationship shift and the impact of mental health, the impact that had on your marriage and the family unit. And I know that when we were talking in our pre-talk about what would you like to talk about in this session, you were talking about exploring the behaviors, which is why we started with that. What are the behaviors you become painfully aware of? Why for you is that such an important topic for us at this time?
Well, I think behavior is an extremely useful lens for mental health, because our minds always work to make sense of the world, and they always work to help us see ourselves from our intentions rather than from what we actually did. So I don't know if anybody has ever been in a conversation, because I have been in many, where you realize that what you intended to say or do was not carried through in what the other person received. So where you say, oh, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Or no, I never meant you to feel, insert the negative emotion, because there is always a gap. However smart, wise, mature we are, there is always a gap between our intention and our actual behavior, and we read the intention. It comes filtered back to us through all the filters we've got. There are actually, I counted the other day, there are 188 known biases that we have in our minds, in our brains. So a bias is a way of viewing the world incorrectly. It's a distortion on the truth. And we've been able to identify and name 188 of them. I mean, there must be so many more. Because we can't possibly cope with all the information that's coming at us. So our brain has clever ways of collating and segregating and finding patterns in things. But where that comes to self-awareness is that actually we are often a very poor judge of our own behavior. And therefore, it's difficult for us to correct our behavior and improve our health and our well-being unless we're able to really look honestly at our behavior. So that's why I find it really helpful. I love to have people around me who will be honest with me, who will call me out on the things I'm not doing so well and on my blind spots, because I have them. Everybody has them. And when we talk about our behavior, it's not quite so personal, and we don't need to get quite so defensive about it. This isn't about character assassination, because this is one of my fundamental coaching principles. Everybody is doing the best thing with what they have at the time. That's just universally true. Even if somebody is committing, hideous crimes, it's the distortion, the extreme distortion of their thinking that is causing them to act in the best way that they know how. So honestly looking at our behavior through the lens of self-compassion rather than judgment enables me to go, Naomi, that wasn't my best behavior. I can change. Rather than, oh, Naomi, you're such a lazy cow, or you're such a, nagging wife, or whatever, insert, negative stereotype of yourself. And that way, if we start there, we get around people's defensiveness and their biases, their inbuilt thinking biases, and hopefully we achieve much faster, more effective personal growth.
Wowza. Okay. Can I just try and unpick this a little bit just to make sure that I'm in the right place? Also, just a reminder, if you're out there and your video is off and you want to become part of the little group of video people, you can. We're not stopping you, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. Totally fine, totally up to you. But it's always lovely to see people's faces, so thank you. So what I'm hearing is, when I become a shouty dad, which is the kind of dad I hate the most, especially within my own family, I need to acknowledge that it's not who I am, it's the behavior I'm displaying at that time. And the reason I'm displaying that behavior probably has other reasons going on in the background. But firstly, I need to see the behavior, acknowledge the behavior, and then I can start to learn some new behaviors to put in its place. Is that right?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. So if you can imagine right now in your head, if you imagine a square, the top line of the square is effective behaviors, and it's a sliding scale right down to the bottom of ineffective behaviors. And maybe actually this could be one for the chat box. What would you populate that square with? If there was a line across the middle, so we have above the line effective and below the line ineffective, what would you populate that with? What are some effective behaviors? Whether that's a personal behavior, whether that's a work, functional, professional behavior, whether that's, like your example was parenting. So using a calm voice with your children, definitely more effective. And what are some of the ineffective behaviors below the line? What do you know that just, I hate it when people misunderstand me. I hate it when people, we've got an incredible one in terms of racial segregation and, people basing their assumptions of other people on the color of their skin. Extremely ineffective, very common. So actually a lot of the time below the line behaviors are very common, and it's almost like our natural default. And what we do as we engage in mental health, well-being, and in personal growth is we move ourselves, or we give ourselves the opportunity to move above the line from ineffective to effective.
Okay, let's put that out then to the chat. Give me some effective behaviors. So Melissa just kind of jumped in with routine is an effective behavior. So let's go for some effective behaviors. What do you see that you are engaging with in your life at the moment, or that you see out there? Can we go for out there as well, what we see in other people?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'm a little bit nervous that I can probably find better behaviors out there than I can in myself. Yeah. So some positive behaviors, good behaviors. So I like that routine. My wife is a list maker, and I keep on getting told by people, write lists, write lists, write lists. And it is the most mundane thing for me to do. And yet the other day, can I find it? Probably not. My wife wrote me a list, and it just went on and on and on and on. But the way I felt at the end of the day, when I'd scribbled through all those tasks that were in her head that I needed to do. So this not only made me feel good that I actually done loads, but it also made her feel great because I got a whole load of the stuff out of her head and done it. That I can see as a very effective behavior. So come on then, people. What have we got out there? Because I'm still stuck on the routine by Melissa G. So other effective behaviors, got holding back judgments, empathy, being the last to speak, and therefore listening to people first. What a great behavior. Giving time to ourselves, and then also being able to give time to other people. But I think even with that comment, we can only really give from the reservoir that we have available, which means that we've got to have that self-care first. And I find that really, really important. Any other behaviors out there? So just say about being focused on positive work that we're doing. And again, really important, because Philip was saying earlier about the procrastination and desperately kind of trying to avoid tasks, which I think all of us do. Find me someone who doesn't procrastinate. Ask my kids at bedtime if they're procrastinating about going to bed, you know. They're two. How does he know what procrastination is? That's what I want to know. But it's about being focused on the positive stuff that's going on. Listening, laughing, yes. Laughing in the face of adversity, yes. And all these things. These are great behaviors. So Naomi, what I want to kind of ask within this time today is how do we begin to learn to do more good behaviors? Because I could go, let's give us the bad behaviors, but I don't want to kind of focus in on that negative, at least not in the time frame that we've got available, because we've probably got 101 negative behaviors that we can highlight really quickly. So how do we stay above that line? How do we reach to the top?
Yes, it's a fantastic question. And I do have, of the million things I could say, I do have one takeaway. But just before I say that, this model of above the line, below the line is actually a psychometric test that you can do. And so I've just put a link in the chat to heartstyles.com. There's a book that came out earlier this year called Above the Line. And it is a set of questions online that you answer about your own behavior, and you can have other people answer on your behalf. And it's a printout that gives you your score above and below the line, not to box you or make you feel bad, but to give you language. You know, we've been thinking of some of the words to describe our ineffectiveness, and some wonderful ones coming out. But to give ourselves language and a framework to push. And it's not one thing, it's 100 things every day where we just shift, whether that shift physically, you know, Pete and I were talking about breathing and pausing, whether we shift our attitude, whether we move into positivity. I like that from Josh, thinking positive, or we actually move into humor. I mean, that's just amazing, Philip's comment of laughing. Wow, I mean, that's going to take you spiking way above the line if you can find a humorous way to see the problems in life. So that was the first thing to say, is this is actually available for you to do if you want to. If you buy the book, you get a free indicator that you can do online. So if you're serious about taking this on and actually do want to use your behavior as a lens to improve your health and well-being, then that's one thing to do. But to answer your question specifically, how do we get a handle on this? Because it seems like, oh man, there's so many ways I'd love to improve, so much work to do. And the one thing I would recommend as a takeaway is inserting a pause in your life, slowing down enough to be able to take a breath before you respond, before you shout at your kids, just to hold yourself in that moment, just pause. In fact, it was the answer came out a couple of times, listening to others, just not firing back or giving your opinion or wanting to be heard, but allowing yourself to pause, because that gives you the choice to respond instead of react. And a lot of the time our reaction, what will come out in a reaction will be the below the line response, the ineffective response. And if we pause, we get to access the above the line effective response.
Brilliant. And I think it's all so important. And I mean, so what I don't know how to say my next question without it either sounding rude or like I'm being deliberately prickly. So sorry, first and foremost, because when we're talking about mental health, there's no immunity to it, and it can happen to anyone. And it's I want to say it's very easy. It's probably not very easy to kind of say, oh, but we need to do this and we need to do that, and you should be doing that. And sometimes that can come across very judgmental, because it begins to say that people with mental health illnesses, they can't do this, and why can't you do this? And a little bit of a kind of finger pointing process. And I want to know, from your perspective, because I know that you, as you were saying in your introduction, that you've gone through a lot of stuff, and these processes have helped you find a better balance. I don't want to say a better balance, because I don't think we're ever totally balanced, and has got you back to a place of healthy mental health for you in your life. And what I want to try and understand and explore is how, when we are struggling with our mental health, how do we get to that place? Because it's very easy to say and very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And what I really don't want this kind of session, I don't want people to hear, is that if you're really struggling with mental health, then kind of why aren't you doing these things? Do you see what I mean? Which is why I don't know. Which is why I don't know how to kind of say this without being prickly or contradicting what you're saying, because I think what you're saying is brilliant.
Absolutely.
So I suppose kind of coming all the way back then to those first steps, and am I right in thinking that the takeaway that you're saying is the pause, the slow down, the breathe is the first step? Or is this a step that we are trying to get to when we are in a better mentally healthy place? Can you see what I'm trying to say?
I don't know if I can even, it's a takeaway. The pause is a takeaway. If you only remember one thing out of this half an hour that you spend on this call, remember that pause. Insert the pause. But the great thing about, I do understand what you're saying, and the last thing I want to do is to sound judgmental or like just giving you a load of tasks. The great thing about the mind is there's two way rounds. We can act our way into new thinking, and we can think our way into new action. And it's brilliant that whatever habits that we repeat, whatever habitual behavior we insert in our lives, will become what our body imbibes. It will become actually part of not only our brain cells, but then all the systems in our body, and it becomes habitual. So we get this victorious circle. So it's wonderful to be able to go either way round. And what I often say to people is, it's rather than you should, it's you get to. There's no shoulds here, but there are a lot of things that you get to do. So I don't mind whether your inspiration is to go do something good about your mental health, insert the pause, or it's that you just think about, oh, what to do, what could I do today that would be good for me? What could I do today that would be good for my loved ones? I don't mind whether you go at it that way or that way, but you get to. And to see yourself as having every moment of every day, many opportunities in front of you that you could get to engage with to produce positive results in your life. Start from that place, rather than feeling like there's all these things I ought to do. No. There's nothing you ought to do. You are just absolutely fine as you are, but you get to. And I think it's just that language shift. You know, should and ought are always a red flag to me. If I hear my clients using them, and I have a whole set of tools that I can help people unpack that with, but should and ought don't help, but neither does apathy. So you get to.
Brilliant. Okay. So, oh my gosh, it's 27 minutes past 3. We have 3 minutes left on this chat. So just kind of scrolling back up, Trudy saying, Naomi, please can you provide the name of the book that you mentioned before? So you're talking about the heartstyles.com, so www.heartstyles.com, and the book that you recommended.
There we go, in the chat.
Oh, in the chats. Above the Line by Stephen Klemisch. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Klemisch. So close. Klemisch. Klemisch. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, this is a reason I don't read very much. And just other things kind of on our chat. So act the way into, I love that phrase that you said, act our way into new thinking and think our way into new action. What a great dual context within our brain. And then remembering it's the smallest of steps that compound over time. And I think time in itself is a fantastic healer. And if you are struggling with mental health illnesses at the moment, time is on your side, you know. And I say that wholeheartedly because sometimes we get to the point where we feel like there is no way out. And that's when suicidal thoughts begin to kick in, you know. And yet, if you can say that time is on your side, it allows you to begin to take these small steps. And one of the best things that I can encourage you to do is seek help as quickly as possible. And the help that's out there is available to you. But again, it may take some time to get access to. So reach out to your friends, reach out to your families, and ask them to help you through this time before you're able to get the professional help of counselling or therapy. Again, welcome back to your employee assistance program. If you have one, access it. Okay, you can get access to counselling and therapy within the next 2 weeks, which is the quickest way of accessing counselling in the UK at the moment. If you don't have an employee assistance program, welcome back to the IACT, or the Improved Access to Psychological Therapies. Okay, 1 minute to go, Naomi. Any last thoughts to wrap this all up?
Well, I've just popped an answer to Philip's question, which is a fantastic one, because language is very powerful. And in terms of being a coach and in coaching, the language you use with your clients is really worth paying attention to, or your friends, you know, or your family. So I've just recommended a resource called Clean Language. There's a website, definitely. I think there's books in how to really neutralize your language and mirror the language of the client so that you can get much more accurate results. You don't get the biases coming out, you don't get the judgments on the own thinking, but you just get what is actually happening. Where are you right now? Are you below the line? Are you above the line? And then how can you move?
That is a great place to end. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the end of Mentality Meets. I have been Peter Larkum. This has been Naomi Light. We have had an awesome time together. Thank you. Take care. God bless. And bye-bye now. Okay, that's our official ending. So we have an official ending, and then we just blether, Naomi, until everyone's kind of gone off the chat. But thank you for your time. What a great bit of insight.
So lovely to see all those lovely people. Bye-bye.
That's including you, Josh.
Bye,
Thanks,
Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hi. Hi, Josh. Bye, Josh. Hi. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, that was so fun. Just love that.